Hey everybody, it's Corey Minton and Kyle Prinz back again with Breakfast with the Beards. We are not in our planned city of Boulder, Colorado today. We stopped in Denver yesterday, and we're planning to spend actually 2 days in the Denver area. First day yesterday down in Centennial at our friends at Arrow's headquarters, and then today we were supposed to be up in Boulder, Colorado, to visit with our friends from VictorOps. So VictorOps headquarters is there in Boulder. But we got some interesting news. The news was that there is a storm a brewing. And what happens when you're in Colorado is if there's a storm, it's not that big of a deal if you're in Denver, but we needed to get to Las Vegas basically by Saturday.
Kind of the end goal.
It's kind of the idea. If you want this RV to be on the floor of Splunk Conf, then it has to be actually in Vegas on time.
And in one piece.
That's also true. And driving across the Rocky Mountains in snow in a 40-foot RV that we don't have snow chains is a recipe for disaster.
Illegal, even.
It is illegal, and we follow all written law. So we're here in Grand Junction, Colorado, which is just over the Rockies from Denver, and we're going to be here just for a little while longer while we actually had to go kind of remote with our recording. So you'll see a little bit different format today for the Breakfast with the Beard show later on with the interview. And then this afternoon, I'm excited. We're going to have Andy Mann, Chief Technology Advocate from Splunk on the podcast.
Oh, that'll be fun.
Now, we are in Grand Junction, but we're also in like day, I don't know, was this like 12? Day 12. Yeah, I think it's day 12 of the adventure.
Yeah.
You know what happens 12 days in? Food gets kind of scarce.
We're scavenging now.
It's full scavenger mode. We had leftover donuts this morning. Big thanks to Brett Zumwalt from Arrow for the donuts yesterday. They were delicious. Today, tiny bit dry.
You dip them in the coffee and you're set, man.
That's right. Also, we continued the theme of all of our meals being round. So we did not eat any more tornadoes, but we did have more sausages last night, some hot dogs for dinner. It's full scavenger mode. We're like cleaning out the fridge.
You're never allowed to grocery shop anymore. It's all just cheese and sausages.
I have a problem. I'm not gonna lie. I love them. It's been, like we said, it's like a tour, like with different flavors of those things in different places. So.
Inside.
Well, speaking of dying inside, it's laundry day, so we're gonna be doing that adventure, which in an RV park. The one here we haven't taken a look at. I think we may move on to Moab and see what that looks like. It is quite a bit colder than I think we had anticipated, which is probably a statement of where we didn't read the Weather Channel and what happens in Colorado at this time of year. But that's not that. Yeah, it's not that big of a deal, though. It is much easier to heat and get heat out of the RV than it is to cool it off. There's a big engine in the back that produces a lot of heat, and then when we're plugged into power, we can have space heaters, which is totally fine.
It's great.
Now, one thing that happened yesterday as we crossed the Rockies, I did not realize it, but it was your first time crossing the Rockies on I-70.
Yeah, it was awesome. I'd been to Denver quite a few times for work, just through different jobs throughout the years, but never had the opportunity to just kind of drive through and take it all in. So fortunately, I was able to take over the Spotify playlist and lived the Dumb and Dumber dream of listening to John Denver while crossing the Rockies, except my experience was a bit rockier than theirs, so it was good. Yeah,
they are quite rocky, as it turns out. They're the Rockies, and John Denver's not full of it.
No, not at all.
It's
he
true.
was very truthful, so it was good.
It's true. We also took a little bit of time over the last few days to put some work in on our slideware because we've got a number of talks coming up at Splunk Conf that we're putting the finishing touches on.
Yeah.
So Kyle, tell us a little bit about the sessions we can expect you to be leading.
Yeah. So we obviously have the Wednesday midday breakfast with the Beards. That's what we're on today. These days are running together. We have the IoT in an RV OMG talk, so kind of doing a retrospective of everything that we've done, lessons we've learned, why we did what we did, how we did it, just kind of giving a full overview of how, why, where, and what for that. But on Tuesday, putting on my Dell Technologies hat, we are giving a Tuesday mid to late afternoon. We're giving one in the breakout theaters, Brett, Roberts, and myself. Being former storage architects and admins, we kind of have an intimate knowledge of what storage administrators tend to care about from a Splunk perspective of what they need to see out of their storage arrays and storage networks in Splunk. So we'll do a little bit of a 20-minute overview on kind of what we care about as storage administrators in Splunk, capacity, performance, file system auditing, and then give a demo of a new app that we at Dell EMC are releasing for the Smart Store device.
Very cool.
Sell. Yeah, so it'll be pretty good time.
So I'm actually working on my presentation. It's going to be midday on Tuesday, and it's called Secrets of a Splunk Ninja.
Ooh.
And much like the presentations I've done in the past, we're going to go over some just architectural best practices that we've learned. And I've had the opportunity in my role at Dell Technologies as being kind of the Splunk technical lead for a lot of our customer-facing conversations, and worked with some of the largest Splunk customers around the world. And really what I'm trying to do is take the things that we've gleaned from their experiences, from our lab testing, and frankly, from what the Splunk team, both their professional services and their engineering teams, have shared with us over the years, and trying to distill that down into some meaningful tidbits that folks who are administering Splunk, IT practitioners that are being asked to help support Splunk, can understand some of those architecture requirements so that you deploy Splunk well. Because at the end of the day, Splunk is a platform that is being used to drive outcomes, but it does need things like infrastructure when you're running on premises to run well. And so we want to make sure that you have the best recommendations on how to design those to run well. And we're going to do a little bit deep dive on some of the Smart Store do's and don'ts, because there's been just a ton of curiosity by Splunk customers on how do we realize the benefits that Smart Store claims to provide, but still have a performant and a highly available environment, and that would invest in the right pieces of infrastructure at the right time. So we're going to go through that in a pretty good bit of detail. So hopefully you'll hang out with us on Tuesday, or hang out with me on Tuesday, Kyle and Brett on Wednesday, and then definitely check out the theater sessions. And then also a reminder, Monday, if you're going to the welcome soiree, be on the lookout. There's going to be a giant RV. It's this one on the floor of the conference. We're going to have T-shirts for any of you who show up and you show us your phone and you've subscribed to the podcast or the YouTube. We've got koozies, stickers, and a ton of cool giveaways from our sponsors, from Arrow, Red River Technologies, VMware, and Dell Technologies. So definitely check us out on Monday, and then we'll be out there at the RV basically through the entire conference, which is pretty exciting. So we'll have a bunch of fun stuff. Now, one thing that's also happening is on Wednesday night is the Halloween party at Splunkville. And I'm not going to spoil you yet, but we spent a lot of time over the last few days noodling on what our costumes are going to be. And I think you're going to like it.
I'll just say it's going to be real nice.
Real nice. I like it. All right. Well, let's take time now. We are going to jump to something that we have lovingly referred to as Tinker Time to tell you a little bit about what we've been doing in the IoT RV.
It's Tinker Time. We'll try and tell a story. It's Tinker Time with Brett, Kyle, and Corey.
All right, so in our Tinker Time over the last few days, while I was driving, Kyle and Brett were still fighting the digital demons.
Yeah.
We've still got those nasty digital pipe clogs. We got a clogger, folks. It's a real problem.
We have a data clogging issue.
We do. We have a clogging, and we don't know exactly what it is yet. So Kyle, help kind of explain. When we say a clogger, what do we mean by the digital clog?
Yeah, so data is created right at our sensor, and then the log is created at the universal forwarder level, and then from there it feeds into our heavy forwarder that we showed in the tour of the RV, so our Dell MP1220. From there, we're doing a store and forward into Splunk Cloud, and our bronze bathroom edge device is. It's the one that's going to be the pain. So the data is being created. It's being captured at the universal forwarder. It's being pushed to the heavy forwarder, but it just can't seem to get to the cloud. So
that's
we've
our
got a clogging issue. And what's interesting is that all the other devices and sensors working totally fine, but this one specific one is just being a bit of a pain for us. So we're working a bit on it yesterday. But unfortunately, with the beauty that we had in the Rockies, that also meant terrible 4G connectivity for us as well. So Tinker Time was put a little bit on hold for that. So we just tried to read through the logs, see what's going on, and then today, as we have a bit more of downtime, we're going to take a look at that and see what we can come up with.
Nice. Now, we also had a sad thing happen. Sometimes SD cards, they die.
They get you.
They die.
Yeah.
And this SD card failure means that one of our gateway devices is offline.
It is.
It's very sad.
We are holding a service for it. And then
no, the service is actually going to be that we're going to rip the SD card out of it. Yeah. And thankfully, although we couldn't have redundant storage media in these particular gateways, we are able to rebuild them, and we were smart enough to carry some snapshots of those SD cards, but also extra SD cards, because we are fully aware that they fail. So keep that in mind when you're designing your edge devices, that a lot of times these tiny little storage media devices can be your linchpin. So try to build in redundancy there. We also were starting to tinker. Kyle was really spending some time tinkering with a product called an iBeacon. The particular ones we were using were quite old, from an Estimote, from a company called Estimote. I bought them years ago thinking I would use them in a project. I ran into a dead end, but I couldn't remember what the dead end was and why I stopped trying to use them in a little project I was working on. But I think Kyle discovered it.
Yeah, so my understanding of how they worked at the beginning was that they would be able to capture UUIDs off of the devices themselves natively. Unfortunately, there has to be an app that is transmitting back and forth with the iBeacons themselves, meaning that we would have to code up a mobile app for iOS and Android devices, which unfortunately I don't do.
I'm not a developer of iOS or mobile device apps, so the Estimote beacons and the iBeacon idea, I think we can actually say that thing has been put to bed for this trip.
Yeah, for the trip. I'm taking them with me. Surprise.
Yep. They're yours now, huh?
They are mine now. So
this is me now.
Yeah, I mean you had a good 3 years. You know?
That's fine. I didn't use it. It's fair.
I'll say, man, the surprising part of those things is you crack them open and it's just 4 monstrous coin cell batteries. And we looked online for some pricing for batteries, found them for $1 a pop, and we were like, great. And then we found a battery store here.
Yeah.
And we needed about 24 batteries, and at $6 a battery, we realized, we'll wait.
Yeah, so, this thing's on a shoestring budget, so we don't have $140 to spend on batteries. That's for sure.
Not on batteries for a dead project.
Now, one project that is not dead and that is being actively worked on is the Wise Camera project. So the idea of marrying some of the latest capabilities in computer vision deployed on a small camera, and then taking those logs from what the computer vision algorithms identify in object detection and actually outputting that and getting that into Splunk. So while we're not completely there, it's going to be probably the project that gets the most effort over the next few days, because it's a really neat idea. It's one of those ones that we set out early to say that would be really rad if we had some computer vision and this, call it the AI or machine learning kind of concept, brought more into like a real tangible use case on the road trip.
And it's been one that has been brought up a couple times from different people as well. So meaning that it's at the forefront of a lot of different people's minds. Fortunately, we do have the technology, so we can build it. It will be finding the time and the proper connectivity to just make sure that we're doing it correctly. But we do, I think this one will end up landing pretty well.
Absolutely. So today we are going to have a phenomenal guest join us. His name is Bill Emmet, and you may recognize Bill as having been on the Big Data Beard podcast a couple times in the past. Big fans of Bill's, and he actually is going to be sitting down for a remote interview with our buddy Brett Roberts, who's manning the remote interview station, and we'll see if this works. But first, we're going to play you a quick explainer video about VictorOps, the organization that Bill is leading their product marketing.
VictorOps helps you make on-call suck less. Our incident response software consumes data from application monitoring, service desks, chat tools, and more, including Splunk, for a single pane of glass into system health. When your monitoring tools identify an alert, VictorOps triggers a notification based on the current on-call schedules. The alert is appended with critical alert information, so engineers can jump into the firefight and pull in the correct subject matter experts fast. To make this workflow even easier, Splunk has built out-of-the-box integrations to simplify the delivery of robust alerts to VictorOps. And when it comes to scheduling, VictorOps provides streamlined calendaring to identify the engineer on call, along with their availability and preferred methods of communication. Teams can set up custom routing and escalations policies so critical alerts never go unanswered. With increased efficiency, experts are connected to critical data. And with ChatOps integrations and in-app collaboration, teams can further reduce time to resolution. Once an incident has been resolved, teams have all the necessary data to conduct post-incident reviews, driving continuous learning and improvement. With VictorOps, you can achieve the confidence to run your business faster and more smoothly than ever before, all while making on-call suck less for developers and operations.
Thanks, Corey. So I'm here with Bill Emmet, who is a part of the VictorOps team. Bill, I am so sorry for not being able to do this in person. I was really excited to get out to Boulder today and actually see your office, see all the cool things that the VictorOps team is doing. But unfortunately, weather came in and we had to get across the pass because we do need to get to Vegas. But thank you so much for the flexibility and to record with us so we can still hear all the great things that you and the VictorOps teams are doing. So Bill, welcome to Breakfast with the Beards.
Hey, thank you very much. And I completely understand. I would not want to drive that monster RV over the passes on I-70. Eisenhower Tunnel with the snowstorm is scary stuff.
Man, I'll tell you, we drove through it yesterday afternoon, and even in clear weather, it was very white knuckling as we're going down the hill on the opposite side of the pass. So I can't imagine what would have happened with just a little bit of water, let alone ice. So we're happy to do this, and very happy that we can use the power of technology to still hear all the cool things. So let's just go into that first. Now, before we go into VictorOps itself, I hear that you and the team have a fairly significant move today. Tell us a little bit about that and what's going on.
Oh yeah, so this is what you missed. Today, nobody at Splunk is working in Splunk Boulder is working at the office. We're all working at home, and the reason why is we're making a major move from our office that VictorOps had, and now we have built out a really cool new Splunk office in Boulder. It's going to hold up to 350 or so people, and it is really a flagship office for Splunk and within the Boulder community. And for us, we're really excited because Boulder really has this incredible ecosystem of talent for software development, especially around modern SaaS services, and for us to really have not just a major presence, but a leadership role within that community is great for us, and we absolutely love being a part of Boulder.
That's great. And it seems like Splunk's making a pretty big bet on the Boulder area and the not just the technology, but the people as well. That's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. We see ourselves as a leading recruiter for top developer talent in the Boulder area, as well as in other roles for go-to-market. So it really is a great place for people that want to work for a leader in the industry, have the opportunity to be in Boulder and really build out their skill set around modern application development and go-to-market.
So for those who are not familiar with what VictorOps does, can you explain at a high level what VictorOps is solving with this technology?
Yeah, absolutely. VictorOps, we like to just think of it almost as our tagline of we make on-call suck less. And VictorOps, in a nutshell, is a system that takes alerts from all of the different monitoring tools that you already have out there, or even your CI/CD tool set, and it brings it all in and applies a set of rules to say when things go wrong, the VictorOps provides the ability to route that to the right teams or the right people so that they have immediate awareness and knowledge of the problem. They can either start working on the problem, escalate it to other people where the problem may be involved, or also just bring in other experts into the problem so that you can collaborate quickly, triage the problem, find where the problem source is, and resolve that problem more quickly.
Yeah. And I think that's so extremely important. And one of the reasons why I was so excited about the Splunk merger that took place about 16 months ago at this point, because Splunk is so great at ingesting data, visualizing it, analyzing it, and getting the actual to the root cause. But the important part is also the action and acting on it and getting the information to the right person to make the right decision. Can you talk a little bit about the synergies between Splunk and VictorOps and why this partnership and this merger is so beneficial to customers?
Yeah, you bet. I really look at it as that organizations have several key things that they're going to do with data. Once they collect it, they're going to use it to monitor what's important to them. They're going to need to investigate where those problems are. They're going to need to perform analysis to really take tons of data and distill it into the thing that's actionable. But ultimately, all those things are being done because you need to act on the problem. And that's where VictorOps comes in. We have customers like, say, PSCU, a fintech company that has been able to take that mean time to acknowledge, basically that lag time between when a problem started and when you actively have people that are owning the problem and working on the problem. They've been able to use VictorOps to systematically bring that mean time to acknowledge down from 4 hours down to 2 minutes. And that it means everything when it comes to solving problems that your customers ultimately experience.
Yeah, I mean, so first of all, and I didn't say this earlier, but I love the tagline "Make on call suck less." I think that's such a great tagline, and it's true, right? It's getting the information to the right person to make the decision, so you don't have to filter through all the noise. And then being able to go ahead.
And it also recognizes that nobody loves being on call. Nobody wants to really be that person that's needs to be ready and willing to take a on-call situation at 3 a.m. When that's not normally the time that they work. We do this with the ethos of, we know that on-call isn't the best thing to do, but to the extent that we can provide the most effective on-call experience possible that really adapts to the on-call lifestyle, if you will, as well as getting you the actual information you need to quickly make decisions around incidents that come your way. We really think we've made a significant contribution, not just in terms of improving things like that time to acknowledge and repair, but also just the quality of life and quality of being and reducing stress and burnout as well.
Yeah. Can you give an example of that? Because I know there's some really cool integrations that VictorOps has to help get the alerts to the right people through the right channels. What are some of those integration points that you have?
Yeah, well, there's a couple things that I'll mention there. First of all, VictorOps has integrations, not only as you would expect with the Splunk, with the technologies that are in the Splunk portfolio, but also with about over 100 different monitoring tools and a wide range of CI/CD tools, which makes sense because you might want to inject insight that says a build happened or a release occurred, because there may be a really close correlation between a release happening and incidents that are suddenly flying your way. So that's the first part around incidents, but there's other key parts of the workflow. So we know that many people like to work on Slack. That's how they work with their peers in order to solve problems. We have an integration with Slack that essentially synchronizes Slack so that if you work in Slack, it'll all be recorded in VictorOps. If you're working out of the VictorOps mobile app or the VictorOps web interface, that can be delivered over Slack as well. We even have within Slack, you're able to acknowledge and escalate and reroute problems. So we've really created a meaningful integration there. Another thing that many organizations have are integrations. They use ServiceNow as kind of more of a ITIL-driven trouble ticketing system. So sometimes their workflow is ServiceNow might be the thing that creates the initial ticket, but VictorOps is really built for the speed and immediacy of getting the right people involved in the problem to be able to reduce that time to get the problem fully acknowledged, have the right people working on it, resolve the problem quickly and get it going, and then being able to from there close out the ticket formally in ServiceNow, which is great for compliance reasons and ongoing reporting. So I like to think of it as the difference between an ambulance and a hospital. A hospital is great for planned events, also for longer term care, but the ambulance is great for that immediacy and stabilizing the patient and getting things, triaging and getting things to a working order very quickly again.
Very cool. So how does VictorOps integrate with Splunk Enterprise? Is it an app that you deploy on top of Splunk, or how does that work?
Yes, VictorOps has a great integration with Splunk Enterprise. There is an app that's available on the App Store, has a wonderful rating, I just noticed. And with that app, what it basically does is allows you to define alert actions so that you can immediately take the alerts that are going to be important to you and direct them to VictorOps and put them on the right kinds of escalation policies so that they get to the right teams and the people based on the nature of the alert, which becomes an incident in VictorOps.
Yeah. So when we talk about our IoT RV and the bronze bathroom, when we get to a certain point where we have to clean the bathroom, thanks to VictorOps, we're routing that alert through a couple different channels to let one of us know who needs to clean the bathroom. So obviously we're using this real world use case where VictorOps is helping us make sure that we know when the bathroom needs to be cleaned and who should clean the bathroom next. Spoiler, it's always Kyle.
I love it. And you can set your on-call schedules just about any number of ways you want.
Yeah, so it's really cool technology.
If you need to take turns, or it's a matter of, hey, one of you does your best work in the morning, you can set up your schedules to do that however you like.
Yeah. So one of the things that I've seen with Splunk over the last year and change is this continued incorporation of AI capabilities, for lack of a better term, but machine intelligence capabilities into core platform, into things like the machine learning toolkit, obviously, into enterprise security and ITSI. What are some of the things that VictorOps is looking at with regards to AI or weaving that type of technology into the platform?
Sure. I like to kind of go back to the idea of, while a lot of the Splunk portfolio is super deep on the idea of being able to, once you collect the data, being able to enable monitoring and investigation and analytics, VictorOps lives a little bit more for action. That said, action in VictorOps world is often enabled by people. And so what we looked at is, how do we solve the problem that says, hey, how can we use AI to improve the interaction between people based on their ability to solve problems in the past, or based on looking at previous kinds of alerts that have occurred before. And we see an incredible role for AI and machine learning technology, which is the specifics that we can apply underneath the hood to say, just as MLTK and some of the use case specific ML that we've built into many Splunk products can help you clean up the monitoring data, we see an opportunity to really provide additional insight on how people can interact with each other.
I love it. So conf is, I can't believe it, 3 days away at this point, or almost 3 days away. What are you looking forward to?
Do you measure that in days or miles when you're on an RV?
Both. We actually have a counter on our dashboard that does days, hours, minutes until the keynote. But we also know that we are about 900 miles away from Vegas. So it's the home stretch right now. But what are you most excited about for conf?
The thing that I'm most excited about is, first of all, the growing Splunk community. This will be our largest Splunk ever. And there is something that's just inherently energizing about people that are passionate about solving similar problems, leveraging the same technologies to doing it, that is just fundamentally there. So I think first and foremost to me, it's about community. Within the event itself, being really close to the VictorOps business, I am really excited for all the points of presence that VictorOps will have throughout the event, from customer appreciation events to several great breakouts. Customers like Erdetto are going to be talking about how they've combined Splunk and VictorOps and what they've done to really enable how to clean up that incident response stream. Another thing that's really important about on-call is that it is first and foremost about people. and Bethany Abbott with NS1 is set to do a dynamite presentation around what it means to have on-call in a way that works not just in terms of the business, but the people that support it. And I think that that's a really important idea. And then my friends in the office, Melanie Macari and Dave Wiedenheft are doing I think of it as kind of like the VictorOps 101, the basic session. I recommend that to everybody who's coming to Conf because it is a great level set on what VictorOps is and does. And for people that already have a fair number of products and they're looking at, well, hey, I want to do this thing. How do I integrate it? Kirk Hansen and Dylan Klausing are doing a great session on integrating these products.
I love it. And I definitely will make sure we put some links out to those sessions because I'm a huge fan of VictorOps. I'm really excited to see what's going to come next with it. Bill, thank you so much for joining us remotely for the Big Data Beard Breakfast with the Beards. We do have a T-shirt for you that we'll give to you in Vegas. And thank you for being a third-time guest on with Big Data Beard.
3 times.
Yep, 3 times.
It gets better every single time. I know that is rarefied air. I know one of your other 3-time guests who's awesome, and so I feel like I'm in very good company. And I love coming and joining your podcast every single time. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Well, Bill and Brett, thank you so much for that insightful interview. And I want to encourage everybody to make sure you smash that subscribe button. I wanted to say that. Brett made me say smash. Smash the subscribe button on YouTube because I will tell you, we have one more Breakfast with the Beards as this road trip to Conf. This road trip to Conf is winding down. We are going to our final stop tomorrow before Las Vegas. We're going to Moab, Utah. And tomorrow's Breakfast with the Beards is going to be an exciting one. We hope that we're going to be able to do it live. If not, it may be a little bit later than the normally scheduled time. But we're going to be in Arches National Park. And the hope is that we're going to make a quick hike in to Delicate Arch, one of the most beautiful places in this entire wonderful country that we've crossed over the last 2 weeks. And we're going to have a chat, kind of a wrap-up with what we've learned on Road Trip to Conf and the things that we're excited about in the week ahead at Splunk.conf. Make sure you hit that subscribe button in YouTube. And if you haven't checked out our podcast, go to your favorite podcast app and just look up Big Data Beard. And thank you all for joining us on this epic adventure as we go across the country in our road trip to .conf 19. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for joining us for another edition of Breakfast with the Beards. Breakfast with the Beards is part of the Big Data Beard road trip to Splunk's Conf 2019. Be sure to check out all of our great content at bigdatabeard.com and also follow our podcast in your favorite podcast app simply by searching Big Data Beard. This amazing adventure would not be possible without our incredible sponsors. We thank you, Dell Technologies, VMware, Red River Technologies, Arrow Electronics, and Converging Data for making the road trip to Splunk.conf 2019 possible.